The order started with a single blink of a light. It was nothing anyone outside would notice. A tiny flicker in the hallway bulb outside cell 22, like a firefly trapped in glass. But inside Pelican Bay Supermax, that blink was a drumbeat. One man on the tier stood up. 2 men sat down. Another man shifted 1 step left as if making room for a ghost. No officer said a word. No one shouted. Still the whole tier moved. Leo watched from his cell door slot. He was new. He'd heard stories about shot callers, men who gave orders without using their voices. He had heard that Pelican Bay had a secret chain of command the way an army does. Now he was seeing it with his own eyes. The light blinked. A cup scraped. A heel tapped. And then like a wave the tier changed shape. A folded note the size of a matchbox, a kite, slid along the floor bumping gently from boot to boot. The camera in the corner watched everything. So did Officer Rivera, who stood still with his clipboard, pretending to read while his eyes took in every small move. He knew the game. Guards held the keys, but the order of the day often came from somewhere else. The kite stopped by Leo's shoe. He froze. A quiet cough came from the far bench. It was not a cough, not really. It was a tiny signal like a tap on a chessboard. Leo lifted his foot. The kite kept moving, gliding toward cell 7, where a quiet man with gray eyes and calm hands sat on his bunk like a stone in a river. Everyone called him Cruz, though that was not the name on his file. Cruz did not reach for the paper. He did not look down. He just took a slow breath, and the note vanished as if the floor had swallowed it. A minute later, 2 men in the day room stood and traded places without speaking. One of them was moved closer to the phones. The other took a seat near the showers. It looked like nothing. It was a cell trade, not on paper, not approved, but real in the way that matters here. The room agreed to it. Leo felt the hair on his arms rise. The chain of command was invisible, but it was everywhere. It decided who stood where, who ate when, who got help, who didn't. It was like a marching band with no music, a parade you could only hear if you learned the rhythm. "Eyes forward," Dante whispered from the bunk above Leo's. Dante had been inside long enough to hear messages that didn't use words. You don't look at the leader. You watch the room. The room tells you who the leader is. Officer Rivera cleared his throat, the soft sound a line under the scene. He knew a move was happening, but there was no rule he could write up. No fighting, no shouting, no contraband to hold in his hand. Only a pattern. Only a feeling. Only the way 20 men seemed to breathe together and then, suddenly, not. The noon count came and went. Trays slid. Forks clinked. Leo's heart slowed. For a little while, the tier felt normal, if Pelican Bay ever felt normal. Nurse Tanya pushed her cart by, handing out small cups of medicine through the food slots. "How's your sleep?" she asked Leo, using his name. Names mattered here. They kept people from turning into numbers. "Okay," Leo said. It was not true. He slept in pieces like a broken mirror. "Drink water," she said. "Breathe slow." The afternoon was the low part of the day. Less noise, fewer moves, everyone saving energy for yard. When the doors buzzed and the line formed, Leo followed Dante out to the concrete yard cut into squares by lines of shadow. The mountains in the distance looked painted on. The fence hummed with a sound that lived in your teeth. Out there, the chain of command was even clearer. Older men took the benches with their backs to the wall. Younger men lined up for the phones, 2 rows, never 3. 2 men stretched near the pull-up bars, not to work out but to watch the mirror of the tower window. A shot caller doesn't have to see you to see you. The kite appeared again, smooth as a fish. It nudged a shoe, kissed a table leg, paused by a drain. When it reached the far bench, a hand rested over it like a cloud. Cruz didn't look down. He didn't have to. He lifted his cup, sipped and set it down. A green light. 3 men peeled off toward the far corner, the library, a patch of wall where books were never allowed but plans were often studied. They didn't huddle. They didn't whisper. One looked up at the sky and blinked. The other tied his shoe and tied it again. The third did nothing at all. The plan moved anyway. Leo leaned toward Dante. "Is this about phones?" he asked. "Partly," Dante said. "Phones chow seats who walks with who. It's also about peace. The wrong 2 people in the wrong 2 spots and you get a storm. Shot callers keep storms away. Or they make them. Depends on the day." "How does Cruz tell them all what to do?" Leo asked. "He never talks." "He doesn't have to," Dante said. "He has lieutenants. They have sergeants. They have runners. Orders move faster than voices. Faster than cameras." Leo nodded slowly. Military words. The prison had built walls to stop bodies from moving. The underworld had built a chain to move power instead. Rivera walked the yard with another officer, boots steady, eyes soft. He saw the bench, the phones, the corner. He saw the way the kite had traveled. He made notes in his head. He also saw the piece, the way the line stayed straight, the way the volume stayed low. Sometimes he thought the underworld wants calm more than we do. It just wants to own it. Near dinner the wind shifted. The light outside cell 22 blinked again once. Then twice. Then a third time. "That's the cue," Dante said. His voice went flat, careful. Check. They're going to test the line." "What kind of test?" Leo asked. "Loyalty," Dante said. "They always check loyalties before a big move." The yard gate buzzed. Men filed back inside, shoulders square, eyes low. In the tunnel the air was damp and smelled like metal. A red light over the inner door blinked in a slow, sleepy rhythm. The line passed under it like a train entering a dark station. Back on the tier the test began quietly. A single cup scrape. A heel tap. A turn of a wrist. 2 men changed bunks with no paper, no shout. A third man gave up his spot near the window and took the corner bed with the bad vent. No one complained. That was the point. The chain of command does not ask. It expects. Officer Rivera felt the shift like a change in wind. He stepped to the side, giving himself a wider view. If this turned into noise he would act. But if it stayed quiet he would simply watch and remember. The kite appeared a last time, the smallest gray square on a sea of gray. It skimmed the floor toward cell 7. Just before it reached Cruz the hallway light blinked twice fast. The note stopped. Cruz did not move. Dante's jaw tightened. "Here we go," he said. The inner gate buzzed again, once hard. The speakers popped. A voice from the watch office came thin and flat. "Stand by. All movement frozen. Control has an update." On the officer's desk a phone rang. Another officer answered. He listened, eyes flicking to the camera screens, then to the tier, then back. He nodded, hung up and walked to Rivera. "Intel says there's a shot caller move coming," he said under his breath. "Maybe a hit. Maybe a fake. We're supposed to hold and watch." Rivera swallowed hard. He did not like guesses. He liked facts. But Pelican Bay often gave you guesses dressed up as orders. "Eyes up," he said. The tier went even quieter, which did not seem possible until it happened. Even the vents sounded careful. Leo felt his pulse in his tongue. Cruz lifted his cup again, held it and set it down. Then he did something no one expected. He stood. You could feel the surprise without seeing a face. Shot callers rarely stand. They send others to stand for them. But Cruz stood, slow, patient, like a man rising for a flag. He stepped to his door and placed both hands on the bars. He looked left. He looked right. He did not look at the camera. He looked at the room, the only audience that mattered. Then he spoke 4 words, soft and easy, words the microphone could catch, words the room could obey. "Move me to 1. Dante sucked in air. "He's calling his own transfer," he whispered. "Voluntary. He's forcing the board." Leo blinked. "Can he do that?" "If the room agrees," Dante said. "If the chain holds." Rivera took 1 step forward. "Back away from the door," he called, voice calm, hand open. Cruz did not move back. He kept his hands on the bars, a man holding the rail of a ship. The kite lay quiet by his boot as if waiting for a new map. From 2 cells down a voice said, "Respect." From 3 cells up another answered, "Respect." It was not loud. It was not a chant. It was a roll call, not of names but of loyalties. The phone on the officer's desk rang again, sharp as a bell. The red light over the inner door switched from slow to steady. The whole tier felt like a bow pulled tight, string trembling, arrow not yet loose. Rivera looked at the camera, then at Cruz, then at the men in their cells, all standing now, all silent. He knew what this was. It was a promotion ceremony without music. A changing of places. A move in a board game that ran under the floor. The watch office voice came back, thinner this time. "Control to C tier. Hold for escort. Repeat, hold for escort. Do not engage. Do not escalate." The escort team would take Cruz where he asked or where he was told. If the chain had planned this, the yard would stay calm. If someone tried to break the chain, the room would tear itself, learning why. Cruz lifted his chin once. The men who had traded bunks stood with their backs straight. The men near the phone stepped 1 pace back. The man in the corner with the bad vent closed his eyes and opened them again. A signal, a promise, a yes. Leo's breath came short and fast. He felt he was watching a bridge being built over a river you couldn't see. He wanted to ask Dante what happened next. He didn't. He already knew. The hierarchy would explain itself by what it did. Boots sounded in the tunnel. Keys clinked. The red light stayed steady, bright as a warning. Rivera raised his hand to signal stillness to his team. The escort door clicked. It began to open. The escort door opened with a heavy click. The tunnel lights hummed. 4 officers in vests stood in the doorway, faces calm, hands open. Cruz kept his hands on the bars, steady as a post in the wind. No one on the tier moved. It felt like the whole building was holding one breath. Officer Rivera stepped forward half a pace. "Inmate Cruz," he said, voice even. "Stand back from the door." Cruz did not argue. He did not talk tough. He took one slow step back, then turned and placed his hands behind him, wrists crossed. It was a tiny thing, but it meant something. "I will go, but I lead this going." The escort team knew it. So did the men watching from their cells. The cuffs clicked. The chain lifted. Cruz faced the tier for a second. He did not smile. He did not nod. He just looked. It felt like a salute without a hand. The escort moved. The red light above the door stayed bright and steady. The whole line of cells seemed to lean toward the tunnel without shifting an inch. Leo's heart beat in his throat. He wanted to ask Dante what to do. He didn't have to. Dante's voice came low and flat. "Stand straight. Eyes front. Let the room talk." The room did talk. Not with voices. With tiny, perfect moves. A cup turned. A shoe heel lifted and set down. A bunk curtain twitched and went still. Each small move said the same thing. Yes. The plan holds. The chain is tight. Rivera walked behind the escort, eyes on faces, counting details the way some people count coins. He did not like giving the tier to the underworld even for a minute. But he also knew what chaos looked like, and this was not it. This was order, quiet, heavy, strange, but order all the same. At the tunnel mouth, Cruz paused. One officer touched his elbow. Cruz did not pull away, but he did not move yet. He looked back down the tier once more and spoke 4 more soft words every microphone could hear. "Sergeant stays in 7. Dante breathed out through his nose. "He just named his second," he whispered. "He keeps the map clean while he's gone." "Who's the sergeant?" Leo asked. "You'll see when the room shows you," Dante said. The escort led Cruz into the tunnel. The door began to close. That was when the light over cell 22 blinked again. Once, then twice, but now too fast, a stutter, not a signal. The red light above the inner door flickered. The camera screen in the officer's station glitched and went gray. A thin beeping started, far away, like a watch alarm in a pocket you can't find. Rivera felt the hairs on his arms rise. He lifted his radio. "Control, this is C-tier. We've got a power wobble. Holding position." "Copy," Control said, static, chewing the word. "We still show steady. Proceed." The escort door finished closing with a thud. The tunnel swallowed Cruz. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the tier exhaled. Men sat. Men stood. Men moved one step and stopped. The new pattern began to print itself on the room like a stamp on soft clay. "Watch 7, Dante said. Leo watched. At first, cell 7 was just cell 7, a gray door with a slot, a number, and a tiny window. Then a hand appeared in the slot, palm open, not asking, just being seen. The bunk curtain in cell 9 shifted. The phone line shortened by 2 bodies. The corner bed with the bad vent stayed taken. All tiny signs pointed the same way. "It's him," Dante said. "Second in command." "The sergeant." "Who?" Leo asked. "The one with the calm hands," Dante said. "Same as Cruz. Different job." "Does Rivera know?" Leo asked. "Rivera knows a lot," Dante said. "He also knows when knowing doesn't help." The low part of the day returned. Paper cups rolled. A trustee pushed a broom in slow squares. Nurse Tanya made rounds with her cart, her note from this morning still taped to the handle. "Ask about headaches." When she reached Leo, she slid the cup into his slot and leaned a little closer so her voice wouldn't carry. "You okay?" "I think so," Leo said. "Someone left. Someone else is in charge." But no one said it. "That's how it usually happens," she said. "People like to pretend big changes make big noise. Here, big changes are quiet." She moved on. The humming in the vents seemed louder. Leo wondered if he would ever hear normal silence again. Near dinner, Rivera walked the tier slow. He stopped at the officer's desk to check the log. The staff from escort hadn't called back yet. His pen hovered over the line where you write status completed. He didn't want to write it until he heard it from someone in the tunnel. The phone rang. He picked it up. "Rivera." A thin voice came through, words bent by static. "Cruz is staged in 1. Hold your tier." Do not change program. Copy, Rivera said. He hung up and wrote one word, staged. He turned to the tier. Resume, he called. His tone was even, but the word felt like a stone dropped in water. The ripples went out. Men stood for chow, 2 lines formed, 1 line counted off. No push, no swell, no heat. The chain held. At the tables, Leo and Dante took seats that were left open for them. Not offered. Not asked. Left the way a chair waits at a family table. Leo felt strange and a little sick. He had done nothing and still the room had decided where he belonged. Tell me the levels, he said. Like a ladder. Dante kept his eyes on his tray. Shot caller at the top. Usually 1 per car, that means 1 per group. Under him, a captain who keeps the calendar and the rules. Under the captain, a sergeant, that's the one Cruz just named. Handles day to day. Under him, runners, they move messages and people. Off to the side, clerks, they keep the points. Who owes who? Who gets what? Everyone else is soldier or neutral. Neutral is rare. Even that is a kind of side. How do you stop a fight? Leo asked. Most fights stop before they start, Dante said. The chain is there to keep storms small. You move 1 man. You change 1 seat. You trade 1 cell. People think power is loud. Here, power is gentle hands on a big wheel. What happens if someone doesn't listen? Leo asked. Dante's jaw twitched. Usually they listen the 2nd time. Leo didn't ask about the 3rd time. The low crept in again, chow clatter, soft talk, eyes on doors. Then the high snapped back without warning. The red light over the inner door switched from steady to strobe. The loudspeaker coughed once and died. Every camera screen went black for a blink-long blink. Rivera's radio spit static, then a voice. All units hold, control room power cycle, 3 minutes. He didn't like 3 minutes. 3 minutes is enough time to break a map. Stay seated, he called sharper now. Hands visible. Heads up. The room obeyed him and the underworld at the same time. It is strange to see 2 rulers share a chair, but Pelican Bay does it every day. In the flashing red light, a small, heavy shape rolled from under a table leg to Leo's shoe. Not a kite. An eraser wrapped in plastic with a thin string tied like a belt. The same kind of drop he had learned to ignore in another story. His breath snagged. He did not move. Dante did not look. But somewhere close, a shoe heel tapped once, too loud. Rivera's head snapped toward the sound. He took 1 step then stopped. He had a choice. Reach for the drop and make it his problem, or keep the room calm and make it no one's problem. He did the thing that keeps yards from breaking. He did nothing. The red strobe slowed. The cameras blinked back to life. The radio cleared its throat. Control reset. Resume. The drop was gone. Leo had not seen a hand touch it. Dante still didn't look at him. The chain had done what it always does, moved power where eyes aren't. Who was that for? Leo whispered. For the person who already answered yes, Dante said. What yes? Leo asked. The yes that says the chain still reaches the tunnel, Dante said. They just spoke to Cruz without using a phone. How? Leo asked. Same way as always, Dante said. A room that knows its map. Rivera tried the escort line again. Busy. He tried the watch office. Anything from 1? Working load, the voice said. Stand by. He hung up and gripped the desk edge. He didn't like standing by. He wanted doors, people, paper. He wanted a thing he could hold. But Pelican Bay taught the same lesson every day. You can hold keys and still not hold control. The evening count came. Numbers. Names. Step back. Step back. The red light went back to slow steady. The air felt thick with things unsaid. Nurse Tanya finished her last round and parked her cart near the exit. She poured herself a paper cup of water and took 1 long drink. Her hands shook just a little. She looked down the tier at Leo and Dante, then up at the camera. She had worked in hospitals with fire alarms and in clinics with long lines and short tempers. Nothing felt like this place when the quiet got heavy. She whispered to herself, please just end calm. It did not. The phone on the officer's desk rang hard, 3 times in a row. Rivera snatched it up. Rivera. A voice spoke fast, urgent, too loud. Cruz never made it to 1. Repeat, Cruz never. Static chewed the rest. Rivera went cold. Say again? Staged in the Sally Port, door fault, outer gate locked, inner gate opened, Cruz is between, no camera requesting. The line died. Rivera looked up. The men on the tier did not know the words, but they felt the change. The air shifted. The map shivered. Every pair of eyes found the red light. Dante's fingers tightened on the table edge. Leo felt the room gather itself the way a wave does before it breaks. Rivera hit his radio. All staff lock this tier now. No movement. I need the tunnel live now. The red light over the inner door flashed from steady to bright, then to off. For half a heartbeat, the tiers sat in a quiet darker than night. Then from the tunnel, a sound rolled up the concrete like thunder in a pipe. A steel door slamming, once hard, then a second slam behind it, then a long grinding scrape like metal against metal, as if two doors were trying to close on the same man at the same time. The escort door latch quivered. The inner door motor whined. And somewhere between the two, in a slice of space no one could see, a voice called out, only one word, sharp and low, swallowed by the tunnel. Move.